1867, July. Let me see. Oh, I know what we're doing. July 1867. Knowing better than to stay, the Shinsengumi agreed to Nishihonwanji's request and transferred their headquarters to Fudodo. We had to travel south from the temple at Nishihonwanji to reach Fudodo village. My first glimpse of our new home surprised me so much that I had to stand there for a few minutes to take it in. Pristine and in working order, the huge compound stood proudly upon a fair-sized piece of land. There had to be so much space inside that even after the rest of the men joined us, there would be room to spare. There was even a watchtower. It must have been comparable in scale to a daimyo's mansion, and the thought left me awestruck. This is our new headquarters?
ああ、その通りだ。これからはここが我ら新選組の本拠となる。
広さも申し分ない。余計なやつの目もねえし、これからはいろいろと楽になるな。
The stern look on Hijikata-san's face appeared to have vanished today. In fact, he looked to be in a pretty good mood. But his upbeat attitude was nothing next to Kondo-san's. 'Cause look at him! He is all smiles and sunshine!
そうだ。雪村君はまだ豚書の中を見ていないのだったな。
No, I haven't.
そうかそうか。ではせっかくだから俺が豚書を案内しよ
う。Huh? But you must be really busy with setting things up. You don't have the time. I wasn't sure it was such a good idea, but his smile was so infectious and he nearly danced from eagerness. I felt my resistance crumbling. Hijikata-san's eyes slid to the side to watch his chief. He grinned wryly and shrugged.
おとなしく案内してもらっとけ。一条っていうには少々足りねえが、一国一城の主ってのは男の夢だからな。近藤さんも誰かに見せたくてしょうがないんだろうよ。
Okay. I'd be honored to have a tour, Kondo-san.
任せておいてくれ。さて、まずはどこから案内したものか。クリアも風呂も実に広くてな。
Every new house came with a certain sense of anticipation, and this one was no different. Dan, what have you found at the shop? I'm curious. It was with building excitement that I stepped inside after Kondo-san, my head swiveling from side to side to take everything in.
さて、まずはやはり君の資質を紹介しておかんとな。
This is my room? The new mats on the ground filled the room with a fresh scent, and the sunbeams that danced inside brought warmth and a sense of peace. The door design looked slightly fancier too, as if they wanted to give me a little something extra.
どうだろう。気に入ってもらえただろうか。
Of course! I jumped to reassure him, and his smile widened when he realized I approved of their choice. But is all of this okay? I'm not a member, and yet you're letting me have such a grand room.
いやいや、気にすることはないぞ。今回の豚書は普通の大使も余裕を持って生活できる広さになっている。それに御両エジが抜けて部屋にも空きがあるからな。
Oh. For a brief moment, Kondo-san's happy expression faded into a somber one. I had a feeling that he was thinking about Heisuke and Saito-san right then. I knew I was. I opened my mouth to say something, but before I could, his face cleared and he continued speaking.
ともかく広さについては心配ない。西本願寺も広かったが、あそこは我々に好意的とは言えなかったからな。先方にもみんなにも 心苦しい思いをさせた。それに比べればここは気兼ねなく暮らせるというものだ。
You're right. We had only been borrowing space at all of the previous locations, Yagi and Nishihowanji, and had to abide by the wishes of our sponsors. But now, I can only imagine the emotions swirling through Kondo-san with this new place.
さてと、では次にどこを案内するとしようか。
What other rooms are here?
そうだな。お、そういえば今度の豚書には立派な道場があるぞ。ぜひ見てくれ。
With a grin and jaunty bounce to his step, he began to walk off when suddenly he came to a halt, calling over his shoulder to me.
その前に少し寄り道をしていって構わないかな。
Curious, I followed him through the maze of hallways until we reached... Is this Okita's room? The interior looked a lot like mine, but there was something... It was hard to explain, but the room felt like him. Almost as if I could turn around and he'd be right behind me, grinning. Because he fucking would.
ああ。しかし、掃除のやつはどこかに行ってしまったようだな。まったく部屋でおとなしく療養しろと言っておいたのに。
Ever since Okita fell ill, both Kondo-san and Hijikata-san had been keeping a closer eye on him, and often made time to see how he was doing. I realized that was why we had stopped in his room. Kondo-san was worried and wanted to mask it with a visit. You're a kind man, Kondo-san. You're always looking out for everyone.
そう言われると照れるが、掃除は大使の中でも特別だ。何しろ俺は掃除が9つの頃からずっとあいつの成長を眺めてきた。俺にとっては弟のようなものだからな。
His voice softened and warmed. A faraway look came to his eyes. His fondness for Okita was obvious to anyone who bothered to pay attention. When he caught me looking at him, a smile on his face, he scratched his cheek and turned slightly red, chuckling.
おっと、いかんいかん。ここで話していては案内が終わらないな。それでは改めて道場に向かうとしよう。
Hi! We made our way down a few more hallways until Kondo-san finally slid a large door open. Oh! The new training room was so spacious. 1 or 2 dozen warriors could easily train together with plenty of room to move around. It's so big, I can't believe it.
そうだろう、そうだろう。
The wood floor beneath my feet felt cool. It would have been relaxing if the room hadn't already been full of frenetic energy.
おお、気の早い大使たちが早速稽古を始めているようだな。感心感心。
Perhaps it was the new location, but a number of the warriors were eager to test the room's capabilities. The air was filled with the sound of bamboo sticks slapping each other and the scuffle and stomp of feet. One person in the crowd noticed us standing near the door. He separated himself from the group and approached.
おや、珍しい組み合わせだね。豚書の中を見て回っているのかい？
Konnichiwa, Inoue. How goes training?
ああ、やはり新しい道場というのは気分がいいからね。それに、外が雨でも鍛錬ができるのは実にありがたいことだ。
Oh, that's right. Everyone had to practice back outside at the temple. Suddenly, Inoue-san flipped his practice stick over and extended the hilt towards Kondo-san.
どうだい、イサミさん。あんたも軽く汗を流していっては。
そうしたいのは山々だが、 今は雪村くんを案内しているからな。
Oh, it's fine. Don't worry about me. I'll wait over here and watch.
そうか。ではお言葉に甘えて少しだけ稽古でもしていくとするか。
Striding into the throng of men, he was quickly surrounded by them as they all exchanged greetings. Before long, the training resumed. The intensity and difficulty exponentially increased now that their chief was among them. You did great, Kondo-san. You must be tired. Please sit and have some tea.
ああ、ありがとう。しかし、ずいぶん道場で時間を取られてしまったか。
He took a seat in a new common room, which was centrally located for easy access by all members.
君にはすまないことをしたな。もっとゆっくりいろんな場所を案内してあげたかったのだが。
It's alright. Today is only the first day we're living here. We can look around more anytime we want. I giggled and Kono-san's lips curled into a smile. For a few moments, he sat quietly, savoring his tea.
いいものだな。こうして皆を迎え入れることができる家があるというのは、長年の夢がまた一つ叶った気分だよ。
Another?
ああ、俺は侍になってお上のために刀を振るうのが昔からの夢だった。
He took a sip of his tea and quietly sighed. His face was turned towards me, but his eyes were soft and unfocused, gazing into his memories. Memories of happier times. I didn't know much about the history of Kondo-san and the other Shinsengumi captains shared. Sometimes I catch one of the older men talk about the early days, and every time they'd wax nostalgic for the life they used to live. It made me sad that I'd only joined them recently, and wasn't able to share in those happy, peaceful memories.
幼い頃は剣術の真似事をするたび、農家の息子が剣を持つなんてと笑われたものだがね。
But you proved them wrong. You fulfilled your dream of being a warrior, right? The Shinsengumi had done their utmost to do everything in their power to keep the city of Kyo safe. As their chief, Kondo-san's efforts have been finally recognized, and he'd been granted increased responsibilities by the shogunate.
ああ、その意味では俺の夢は叶った。だから次は俺と同じような夢を持つ奴らに道を開いてやりたいんだ。
How?
そう。お上を敬う気持ちと剣の腕があれば、身分に関係なく侍に取り立ててもらえる。新選組をそんな場所にしたいんだよ。
Kondo-san. His feelings on the matter were overwhelming me. The Shinsengumi had the focus of all of his energy. What was that? The Shinsengumi was the force of all of his energy. He cared deeply for every member and every warrior who dreamed of the same thing he did. His bright smile faded.
ただ、侍を目指すという形だと、侍の立場が嫌で脱藩した長倉君や原田君には申し訳ないな。
When his lips twisted up wryly, I couldn't stop myself from speaking. Can I become one too? Oh no. I was sure I couldn't guess at what Nagakura and Harada would think about it, but seeing Kondo-san sigh was something my heart wouldn't leave alone. Do you think I could do it too? I couldn't stop myself from blurting out the question. I'd felt useless around the Shinsengumi more than once. They always took the time to look after me, and I hated being so powerless. If I was a samurai, maybe if I had studied more than the basics of sword fighting, I would have been able to help them. Everyone's feeling towards the Shinsengumi towards belonging to something important had roused similar feelings in me. If, like you said, class and social standing have no bearing on becoming a samurai, then could I be a samurai too? His eyebrows shut up, but instead of dismissing me, he seemed to be considering it seriously. His voice was matter of fact when he replied.
ああ、君ならなれるかもしれないな。
I heard no laughter in his tone. He was being sincere. But then Kondo-san shook his head slowly.
しかし今はその気持ちだけで十分だ。個人的な意見だが、君のような優しい子は普通の女の子に戻って幸せになってほしい。そう思うよ、俺は。
A normal life. There was no doubt in his eyes that I would have that someday, and the smile he gave me was warm. I was at a loss for words. To think that he was so kind, that he would wish my future was a happy one, despite my being a demon causing trouble for the Shinsengumi. Tears threatened to spill over, but I rapidly blinked, determined to hold them back. The hours passed, and soon enough night came. I had finished my cleaning and was taking a moment to rest in my room. A brand new headquarters, a new room. Our headquarters had changed and expanded, matching the Shinsengumi's growth itself. But increasing in numbers is not always a good thing. The more people there were under one banner, the less likely all of them would hold the same beliefs and ideals. There would be differences and conflicting opinions, just like what happened with Ito and his men. But I didn't want the Shinsengumi to change. Kondo-san's dream sounded wonderful, and I could see it becoming true because of the men that had surrounded him. With those thoughts in my head, my first night in the Fudodo headquarters slowly passed.